this calls for action, and now, nip it in the bud.
Michelle Pfeiffer? The only true Catwoman is Julie Newmar, Lee Merriweather, or Eartha Kitt. And I didn't need molded plastic to improve my physique. Pure West.
Good morning, angels.
Good morning, Charlie.
I love it when a plan comes together.
It's time. Let's talk about music, movies, and mostly television from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. Good evening, one and all. Hey, look, Scott Barnes is here with me. How are you, Scott?
Well, if I come off mute, I could tell you. We're doing really good, Dave. Doing really good.
It's not your fault. I told you I wasn't going to have you on right at the first, but hey, StreamYard has a mind of its own, so if you don't mind hanging out with me, let me go ahead and get this thing kicked off. We'll greet some folks, and I think I see my brother knocking on the door as well. We'll let him in just a minute as well. So, good evening. Welcome to the Good Stuff Live. My name is Dave Sundstrom, and if you enjoy talking about music, movies, mostly TV from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, well, you've come to the right place. So, Scott, it is so awesome to have you back here on the stream, on camera with me again. And how are you doing, my friend?
Doing okay. Doing okay. If I slur a little bit, it's I had a little oral surgery today, so mouth doesn't open quite all the way yet.
Oh, that's no darn fun. No darn fun at all. Well, it's good to have you here. And let me see here. I'm trying to find why can I not see our names? I know it was a setting thing. I'll have to fix it later. Oh, well. So let's see who else we have here. Yep, there he is, Steven Sundstrom. Steve, good to have you here with us this evening.
Hey, thanks for inviting me to join again.
Always a treat, always a treat. Let's look and see who we have here in the chat this evening. We've got Lance Chaffin, super fan Lance Chaffin, Emily Miller, Todd McCreary, Al Duarte, Steve Tivis, also known as The Life and Sad Ending, The Wombler 151, Dave Kerbow, John H., Sakina McMurrin, Superfan Spike Spikerson, TJ 921 Abel, my good friend from South Carolina, Danny Staten, Superfan Nancy D., Superfan Tracy Roth Myers, One Dude, Al, mentioned Al already, Karen Lester, Raja 1938, Rob Aiken, Shannon Burns, Gary Carpenter, Thrash Pondo, The Man Pons, my friend Pat McCormick, Superfan Pat McCormick from the golden rage of television, Superfan Nancy D., Frank Klaus, Sarita Abney. Oh, just so many people. I'm sure I missed a handful of people. I think I saw Tom McCluskey, my friend, the Hungry Jerk, here as well. My Superfan Miles High, Superfan Dave Claroni, Tim the Enchanter, Benjamin Adams. Of course, Scott's, your daughter, Emily. I don't know how to pronounce her YouTube handle. How do you pronounce that?
Kuno Haimi. Kuno Haimi.
Kuno Haimi is with us as well, and she said hi on behalf of her little ones as well. That's awesome. Glad to have you with us here, Emily, this evening. And Superfan Miles High. I think we've kind of got everybody. If not, I apologize. Let me get the last few people here. The Josh Sings is with us as well. That's great to have you here. Superfan Jill Carter, Daryl Johnston, Kenneth Wilkinson. I think we got everybody. Becky Shabesta, welcome. Mr. Led, welcome. Good to have you here. And I did say hello to Tracy Roth-Myers, I think, but I'm saying it again, just in case I missed you, Tracy. All right, so here's the deal tonight. It's a packed evening of all sorts of good stuff. We're going to start by talking about Ivan Reitman. After that, I've got an unboxing video I want to share with everybody. And then we are doing the once a month annual or drawing for the annual subscription to Remind magazine. So we'll talk a little bit about Remind. They don't sponsor any of my videos, but they are kind enough to allow me to give away a magazine subscription. And I love this magazine. So, they're good people if they're willing to do that. And they let me borrow their trivia questions. Still use their trivia questions from time to time. I like that magazine, and I like the people that work on it. And we'll do we'll take care of some sponsors, some old-timey sponsors. I've curated a bunch of ads, and always a nice break for me to go and get another Diet Coke. And then we'll play trivia. We'll do some 80s trivia to wrap things up. And folks that want to stick around after that, well, we can watch some videos and chat a little bit more. But that's what we're going to do tonight. I am, again, delighted to have Scott and Steve with us. Steve is a pretty wonderful YouTube creator in and of himself. How's that? You were telling me about a new video you're working on. Has it been published, or are you still working on it?
No, yeah, I published a new video last night on kind of the secret of my success, 1987 film, and the attempts to get that adapted to a live musical for Broadway.
Awesome. So I don't spoil it for us. Folks, if you want to find out if you liked Secret of My Success the way I did, I'm a big Michael J. Fox fan, then head on over to Steve's channel and take a peek at that video.
You remember you took me to see that movie, Dave, at the Sandcastle.
Yeah, long time ago. That theater is gone now. Most of the theaters in our area are gone. We had in the Bountiful area, you had the Queen Theater, you had Sandcastle Theater, and you had Trolley North. And they're all gone. How about you were up here in Layton, Kaysville area, Scott? Are the theaters gone that were there? I guess the one on Main Street in Kaysville still was there, right?
That was the main one, and it's still there, still showing. Sometimes first run movies, but sometimes by the time they go to video,
yeah,
or streaming, they're at the Kaysville Theater. But what are you going to get for a couple of bucks, right?
Right. And the great thing about that theater, Scott's talking about the theater in Kaysville, Utah, my hometown, and the great thing about that theater is the popcorn is fantastic, and you just kind of almost like you're transported back to the 70s or 80s when you go to that theater. They haven't done much in terms of, updating or upgrading the theater. It's the experience that someone got in the 70s and 80s today with just some fantastic. You can get out you can go see a movie on the big screen at the Kaysville Theater, and you can get your popcorn and soda, and you're still under $10, and that's pretty fantastic these days. All right, Ivan Reitman, folks. Ivan Reitman. We lost him not that long ago, a couple weeks now, right?
Yeah, just February 12th, right before Valentine's Day.
Right. Really, when you think about Ivan Reitman, both as a director and a force in terms of producing movies, just a real creative force. There's a lot that you can point to in terms of his contributions to motion pictures. So I thought maybe we could share favorite Ivan Reitman memories if there are any, and if not, maybe we just go straight to our top 5 lists. But what I'll do first is let's do this. Let's go to the chat. Folks, if there's anything you want to say about Ivan Reitman, I'll go ahead and put it up on the screen here. Let's see what we have here. And while I'm waiting for that, good night, Emily, Davey, and JoJo. It's great to have you popping in. I recognize it's probably getting close to their bedtime.
I didn't wear my Gumpasaurus t-shirt.
Oh man,
Sorry.
Scott.
I also didn't wear my Good Stuff t-shirt, which I was going to and totally forgot.
Well, you see, I didn't wear it either, so there you go. John H. says, I only know of Ghostbusters among his movies. I think you're going to be surprised as we talk about the movies of Ivan Reitman, John H. I think you're going to be surprised just how many movies he was behind. Miles High says Stripes was one of his funniest. Superfan Spike Spikerson says Stripes and Evolution are each and both the greatest movies ever made. Evolution is an interesting movie. I wouldn't categorize it as greatest movie ever made, but I'm glad you loved it, Spike. I'm glad you loved it. And we'll talk more about it in just a moment. The Josh Singh says, bye, everyone. I'd stay, but I don't know who this Ivan Reitman feller is. You must be a young buck, my friend. That's all I can say to you, the Josh Singh.
Just Josh, if you want to stay around, all we have to say is Ghostbusters.
That's right. Who are you going to call? My friend Pat McCormick said, he's talking to Emily, says Dave's joining me next week. Yes, indeed. I will be joining Pat's live stream on Wednesday. We're going to be, I believe we've got BK, or Pat's invited BK from Barry King from BK on the Air, and we're going to talk Star Trek, so it should be a good time. Let's see. Superfan Miles High says, Dave, Ivan was working on Stripes, the TV series, before he passed. Oh, I didn't know they were working on a TV series. And Hungry Jerk says, Meatballs for me. Daryl Johnston says, Kindergarten Cop. Awesome. Emily Miller's asking what day that's going to be. That's going to be next Wednesday. Next Wednesday evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, enough of this. Let's talk about Ivan Reitman. Anything, when you think of Ivan Reitman, guys, what do you think of? What first comes to mind?
Comedy genius.
Yeah, super funny guy.
He knew how to do comedy.
He really did. He really did. And from, an early, he has been a force in the industry since, I'm thinking mid-70s, right?
Yeah.
We immediately think about Ghostbusters, but there are actually a number of movies that he did before Ghostbusters that are very well known. I'm sure we'll talk about some of them. But yeah, just his alignment with that kind of those a particular brand of actor too. A lot of the folks from SCTV and Saturday Night Live just really kind of set himself apart.
That's
just
what I was
really
going to say.
talented
His
people.
partnership, how he worked with Bill Murray a lot.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. All right, so I asked you guys to come up with top 5 lists. Maybe we work through that top 5 list as long as we're talking about Ivan Reitman. And I'm going to start with Scott, and then we'll with your number 5, and we'll see how they align. Let's see how they align. So, Scott, what is your number 5?
All right, number 5. I'm going to turn off the ring light for a second. Try and get it. Can you see that all right without all the glare from the monitor?
It's a little bit tough, but I can make it out. Can you see what it is, Steve?
Yeah.
So that was my senior art project in high school. And as you can tell, heavy metal was a big influence on me mostly because of the music. The movie itself, I watched a couple of years ago. It doesn't really hold up very well. But the soundtrack alone just had me hooked. So that was the whole reason to go watch that movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Reitman wasn't the director, if I remember correctly.
No,
right?
he produced that. He was producer on that one. Yep.
Yeah.
But
Steve?
I included that one just because he was the producer, and it had such an influence on me that I had to go with that one.
Well,
So
I see a lot of folks
5.
in the chat mentioning it as well. And you're right. I think sometimes we downplay the role of the producer. I mean, that's still heavily involved in the creative process of a movie. The producers really are those folks that they're responsible for bringing in all of the talent associated with it. And the thing that, for me, heavy metal, and you mentioned it, is that soundtrack is just, oh my gosh. Is there a bad song on that soundtrack? I don't know if there is. And it played it nonstop when I was in high school.
I still own it on. I still own the LP with that cover.
Yeah.
It's got 2 Cheap Trick songs, so that's all you need to know.
Right. And some Devo, and some Blue Oyster Cult, and
Stevie
some Don Felder, and some Don Henley.
Yep.
And some Stevie Nicks. It's an incredible album. It's
Blue
just
Oyster
incredible.
Cult.
Yeah. Veteran of the Psychic Wars. Great
Yeah.
song. All right. So Steve,
Did you
what do you
mention
have
Sammy
in your
Hagar?
number?
It's got Sammy Hagar.
Yes, Sammy Hagar as well.
Well, it's one of the 2 songs that are called heavy metal, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
On the album. The other one is the Don Felder song, Take a Ride on Heavy Metal. Yeah, yeah. All right, what's your number 5, Steve?
I didn't rank them, but I've got my top 5, so I'll just throw them out. They're not in any particular order.
Throw just one out right now.
Okay. I am going to throw out Meatballs.
All right, nice. And what is it about Meatballs?
It's just a fun movie. It's got a lot of comedy in it. It's the whole going away to summer camp comedy type of movie, but it's got a lot of heart in it too. And Bill Murray it's one of his. I think it might be his first movie, but it's fantastic.
It is definitely one of his first. There might have been a smaller film before that, but it's definitely one of his first. I'm surprised you're not mentioning the name of the young actor that plays in Meatballs.
The young actor that what?
Plays in Meatballs.
I'm trying to think of his name, but Rudy. His name's Rudy in the movie.
He was the same kid in My Bodyguard, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Chris Makepeace.
Christopher Makepeace. Yeah. That kid's really great in the movie too.
Whatever happened to that dude? That's a video. Whatever happened to Christopher Makepeace?
Makepeace. I think
Makepeace. Is it Makepeace?
Pretty sure it is. I don't think.
Okay.
But yeah, what happened to him?
I mean, he was such a talented young actor, and yet, he hasn't been. I haven't seen him in anything for decades.
No.
Yeah.
Some people just give it up. They decided to stop.
Right. John H. says Chris Makepeace. You had it right, Steve.
And that was Bill Murray's first starring role, but I don't know that it was his first role.
Right. I suspect if we go into IMDb, it may be his first motion picture. I'm not certain, though. Hard to say. All right. Yeah. Superfan Miles High is saying, Chris Makepeace, where is he now? Yeah, he was in a Dungeons and Dragons TV movie. I remember that. All right. So I'll throw one out there. I'll just add this to the stream here. My number 5 was a little movie called Twins. I don't know if you remember that one. This was after, I believe, post Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
So Reitman was really kind of flying high. It's like he could do no wrong. And I think he had already directed Schwarzenegger in Kindergarten Cop and this was just like when you thought of the pairing between, both Schwarzenegger and DeVito, and then the premise that these guys might somehow be twins it was a fun movie and one that I enjoyed an awful lot.
It was just flip, Dave. So Twins first, and then Kindergarten Cop.
Did Kindergarten Cop come after?
That was Arnold's first comedy. Was Twins.
Awesome. All right, my number 4, by the way, Steve, was Meatballs. So why don't we have you throw out another one, Steve?
All right, Dave with Sigourney Weaver and Kevin Kline, where he presidential impersonator and gets called in to actually be the president for a while.
Yeah, that's a really great movie. I'm as we work through my top 5 list, I'll share where I've placed that one, but I have an awful lot of fond feelings for that movie. I just think that Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver are so good in that movie. And I love the message of that movie, which is, kind of that whole be a real person, even if you're a politician kind of message.
Yeah, there's a few scenes in there where, all the BS of politics are going on, and he just looks at people and is like, "Come on, really?"
Yeah.
And it's so great. And then there's a scene with him, and I think it's his buddy. I can't think of the Charles Grodin.
Right.
He's like an accountant buddy that drives up in like a gremlin or something, and the two of them sit down and go through the books of the budget and really break things down. It's hilarious. It's a great movie.
It is. It's a really wonderful movie, and definitely I think I'd be surprised not to see it on most folks' lists if they're identifying Reitman's contributions to motion pictures. All right, Scott, how about you had heavy metal at number 5. What did you have at number 4?
I also had Dave at number 4, but coming in, well, a close second to that number 4 would be sorry, would be Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
there's just so many, so
yeah,
I didn't want to. That jumps to number 3 for Ghostbusters is number 3 on my list, by the way. But so I threw 2 out at once.
Okay, all good. I'll move down to my number 3, which was Stripes, which I love this movie. It is the first movie where Murray is paired with Harold Ramis, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, and just the cast there. You got John Candy and just everybody's just so wonderful in that movie. Any thoughts, Steve? Did you have that included in your list?
Yeah, that's in my top 5. I love Stripes. So funny. John Larroquette's character in that movie is hilarious.
Yeah, it's one of, and the ladies are great in the movie as well. PJ Souls is really wonderful and really funny. Scott, did you have that in your list or not in your list?
Stripes was number 2 on my list.
Okay. All right. So I'm interested in seeing when we get to 1 what your number 1 is. So let me move to my number 2, which is Ghostbusters. So it's just, I'm sure a lot of folks will have that at number 1. But for me, I'll just without any huge fanfare say my number 1's Dave. I enjoy Dave as much, if not more, than Ghostbusters. And it may be that, it seems like I got Ghostbustered out for a while. And Dave is always one of those movies that every 3 or 4 years I can come back to. And I'm at the age where I forget certain things and it's kind of fresh and new for me every time. And I really enjoy it. But Steve, what did you have for another one of your picks?
I had Scott's first pick as a producer for I'm drawing a blank. What was your first pick? What was the name of it?
Heavy Metal.
Heavy Metal. Yeah, Heavy Metal was going to be on my top 5. Not from because he wasn't a director, but the producer. But it's just an awesome movie. All animation from like the heavy metal magazines.
Yeah.
And then I love it's a science fiction fantasy story. It's a number of stories all melded together. But I'm a sucker for sci-fi, and then. I like anime, and it's got awesome music, so it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Because of the music, it's a favorite movie of mine. There's elements of heavy metal that I think there's other animated movies that I enjoy more from an overall perspective, but definitely groundbreaking in terms of what it was accomplishing. I think it was really one of the. Did it come out before or after Lord of the Rings? Bakshi's Lord of the Rings. It was after, right?
It's after, I think.
Okay. That's probably, for me, it stands up as one of the, if you're not talking about a Disney movie, one of an adult animated movies, one of the huge ones for me. But Reitman doesn't have anything to do with that, so we won't go there today. Definitely Heavy Metal was, Heavy Metal, Scott and I were talking about this before the beginning of the show. It was it's very much it's the pages of Heavy Metal magazine brought to life.
Yeah.
All right.
There was a lot of that going on at that time, right? With isn't that about the same time that they brought out Creep Show, which was basically just take the magazine or the graphic novel and throw in a few stories from that? Didn't that happen at the same time?
Well, Creep Show was, I don't know if there was actually a magazine called Creep Show, but it was inspired by all of those comics from the 60s and 70s that were like House of Mystery and all the, there was just so many different comics that had that kind of vibe there. And I think Stephen King and George Romero, King the writer, Romero the director, took that and just kind of funneled it all into that movie, which is a fun movie too. Super fun movie. All right. Let's see what we got here. I have a super chat here. Actually, not a super chat, not just a super sticker from Blackadder, also known as Justin Aylett. Actually, Justin was my guest here on the live stream last week, so that's very kind of you, Justin, and truly appreciate that. He's also a super fan of the channel, which is also very much appreciated. For those folks that don't know what being a super fan means, if you look at any of my videos, you'll see a join button that you can click on. And for a couple of bucks a month, you get advance access to a lot of my videos, sometimes a couple days before they actually get published. And you get prioritized responses from me. I try to respond to all of your comments before I respond to anybody else's. We have a members only live stream every month. Those are among the things that I try to do for channel members. And then, of course, you get my undying love and support. So thank you so much for those folks that are members, channel members. And thank you, Justin, for the super sticker. Let me throw this one. I want to express my appreciation to you, Justin. I'm going to let Betty White do it in the form of Sue Ann Nivens here.
Why did this have to happen to me? I haven't anything else to live for.
And the winner is Sue Ann Nivens.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Justin. Really appreciate that. All right. So let's keep moving here. So in a nutshell, Ivan Reitman, I mean, definitely a director that's going to be missed. Someone mentioned Evolution. There were a lot of movies that he made towards the tail end of his career, which were very much, he always tried to push the envelope, do things a little bit different. Evolution starred David Duchovny. That was a great movie. Didn't fit into my top 5, but I enjoyed it. And, you know, for those folks that have seen Ghostbusters Aftermath, all I'll say there is the spirit of Ivan Reitman was felt in every frame of that movie. You guys both see Ghostbusters Aftermath?
Afterlife,
yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah, I saw it with you, I believe.
I think you did.
And it was phenomenal.
And did you shed a tear the same way I shed a tear at that one scene?
I think we all shed a tear at the same time. Yes.
Oh, good. Good to know that I wasn't the only one.
Synchronized crying.
That's right. Excellent. Scott, have you seen that movie yet?
I have not seen it yet. It is on my list, but have not seen it yet. And I know what his son Jason directed it, right?
Yep.
And didn't Ivan produce it?
He may have been involved in the production side of things. It was very much Jason's movie, but it was Jason made that movie with an eye towards kind of really being an homage and a tribute to his father, and it shows through. And very different movie from the Ghostbusters reboot we got a few years back. For those folks who didn't like that Ghostbusters movie in 2016, 2017, this definitely, I think it checks all the boxes for those folks that had complaints about that one. All right, let's move on from Ivan Reitman. And folks, I have a video, an unboxing video I'd love to share. It's I got a package this last week from my friend Danny Staten in South Carolina. So let me go ahead and play that video, and we'll go from there. All right, folks, you won't believe I got another package in the mail just the other day. I've been hanging on to it. It's right here. And it's time for an unboxing party. But let me get rid of this confetti. It's driving me crazy. All right. But it's a party, so we should have a few guests. Yeah, there we go. We've got Batman and Dinah Girl with us. And Bigfoot and Wild Boy, which is totally appropriate because this package has come from my friend Danny Staton in South Carolina, who is a well-known Bigfoot hunter. As a matter of fact, you know what? I need to do this real quick. So long, guests. Let's bring on this screenshot real quick. This is one of Danny's YouTube channels. It's the Daily Dan blog. A great channel. I love it. He's got some shorts on here. But in addition to that, he has some really fun comic book reviews. When he's not reviewing comics, he's out there searching for Bigfoot, for Sasquatch. So anyway, Danny sent me, I went down and visited Danny a couple months ago. It was really fun getting to know him a little bit, go out and grab a bite to eat. But we even did some late night Bigfoot hunting. Not much, really. I was a little bit uneasy. Bigfoot and I, you know what, we're better friends when we're miles apart. Anyway, so let's see what's in this thing. Let me go ahead and crack it open. There we go. Okay. All right. Let me pull this out. You know what? I forgot to bring our guests back. Hang on a second, because it's only right that we have Bigfoot with us here while we do this. All right. And we've got some things wrapped up in a shirt. Hang on a second. So there's the shirt. Let me do it this way. Let's take a peek at this shirt. Oh my goodness. Atlanta Braves 2021 champions, World Series. Autographs on the backside. Thanks, Danny. That is totally cool. Long sleeve, so perfect for this time of year. We've got a Beverly Hillbillies DVD. Love it. Former owner's name was Nellie. Thank you, sir. Danny's got an amazing flea market that he sometimes attends, and I suspect that most of these items came from there. So thanks, Danny. Probably not the t-shirt, though. Thank you. That was very nice. We've got an autographed picture of the Beverly Hillbillies. That is awesome. Oh, my gosh. And oh my goodness, I love this. Love this, love this, love this. This is a bunch of Andy Griffith Show trading cards. I actually have an unwrapped pack right back there somewhere. There we go. Right. Can I point to it right there? So hard to get to. There it is. An unwrapped pack of Andy Griffith Show cards, but this is so nice to be able to have some framed as well. So that is so cool. Thank you very much, Danny Staton. That's awesome. Let me do this because I want to let you know how excited I am to have received this. I'm as excited as the Duke boys. Thank you very much for the kind package. And for your support, Danny. You have been an ardent supporter over the years. Folks, Danny's channel, if you want to go take a peek at it, is called, well, there's multiple channels. Well, if you search on YouTube for Danny Staton, S-T-A-T-O-N, you're going to find another channel called Daily Dan's Good Stuff as well. But this is my favorite, the Daily Dan blog. I love his comic book reviews. And every now and again, I enjoy going out searching for Bigfoot with him virtually. If you would like to send a care package and to see it unboxed on the channel here, here's an address. Dave Sundstrom, 4043 Riverdale Road, number 1057 in Ogden, Utah, 84405. Every package I get, well, the items go into the Hall of Nostalgia, and I always make sure that I do an unboxing video. And typically, I play those unboxing videos during the live stream like I'm doing tonight. But again, thank you so much, Danny Staton. I think it's time for some confetti again. Thanks, Danny. Truly appreciate your support, buddy. Indeed. Thank you, Danny Staten. That was awesome. Just incredibly generous. Truly appreciate it. While we were watching that video, I did see some comments that I want to address. The first one being from Raja 1938 says, just in, Sally Kellerman has passed away. Interesting. For those folks who don't recognize that name, Sally Kellerman was in Back to School. Love that movie, but probably best known for Hot Lips Houlihan in the original version of MASH. Superfan Miles High says that Sally Kellerman was 84 and had a great voice. Just during the 70s and 80s, she was in a ton of different movies and definitely will be missed. So thanks for the heads up on that. Daryl Johnston, thanks for reminding folks to hit the like button. That's always important. Please hit the like button for the live stream if you're enjoying the conversation this evening. All right, let's keep moving on. Looks like we do have another super chat. This one is from my friend John Collins. He says, I have an idea for merchandise. If you and your brother, Pat and Bob, all got together one time, took a photo, you all signed the photo, and then you could sell glossy copies in the store. #1 seller. Right. Great suggestion. I actually think in May I might end up visiting with Pat a little bit. There's a show out in California that promises to be very exciting. He's mentioned to me, so I'm looking at the possibilities of that. And if Steve wanted to come along, well, he would be more than welcome, although I know he has a busy travel schedule already. So we'll see what we can do. That would be really cool. And I am definitely not against the suggestion, John. And thank you so much for the super chat. You're always extremely generous, John. And I'm going to have to put you in super chat quarantine for the rest of the evening. So I'll do my best to answer your questions, but no need to throw any more super chat fundage my way. All right, let's throw a little love your way, though, in terms of, I've really been grooving with this video. I like it a lot.
Hey, look.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the Devo music, Dan Aykroyd, Donna Dixon, or Howard Hesseman in that video, but it's awesome. Not just the clip, but that entire movie is just total nuttiness. Doesn't make a lot of sense a lot of the time, but it's still a lot of fun. If you haven't seen Dr. Detroit, you definitely need to. Thank you again for your support, John Collins. You are great. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Tim the Enchanter says that Sally Kellerman was in a TV movie with Dave Thomas as Boris and Natasha. That was actually meant to be a motion picture, a theatrical release, and it didn't. I think there were some issues with it in terms of getting distribution. For whatever reasons, I think it did end up being just played on TV. But definitely remember that, and I'm a big fan of Dave Thomas, anything he does. So, all right. We do have... Oh my goodness. Let's see what we got here. You better be careful, Pat.
Super chat.
I see a super chat in there from Mr. Pat McCormick. Let me go ahead. Uh-oh, we're getting some echo there. Not sure why, but may I please have some Lawrence Welk? Seriously, Pat? Are you serious? You really want Lawrence Welk? Well, thank you for the support, Pat. But and I feel bad about doing it, but if you're asking for it, you definitely get it. Here we go.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me.
Thank you very much, Pat. It's very kind of you. And I am so looking forward to your live stream next week. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about Star Trek, but I'm also really excited, super excited, in fact, about hanging out with Barry King and visiting with him. I've been spending a lot of time when I'm traveling and just kind of getting ready for bed, just kind of listening to his podcast, and really love BK on the Air. Plus, with BK on the Air, I get a little bit of Pat McCormick on the side there because Pat's part of the show. So good stuff. Thank you so much. All right, guys, here's what we got going here. It's time. It's time to give away a subscription to Remind Magazine. So let me get rid of that comment here and let's share a screen. Let's add this one. Here we go. Let's see how that works. All right. So here's what I need everybody to do. I'm gonna get this comment from John Collins as well. He says Ian, of course, would be in the photo, but I ran out of characters. Yeah, and Ian's on the way to see Pat, so maybe we could work something out. I'm not against that. I'm not against that at all. Love ENC. He's a great guy. All right, I need hashtag remind in the chat section. Hashtag remind in the chat section. No space. It's just hashtag remind. We've got 4 entries in there. I'd like to see, we have 65 people watching the live stream right now. I'd like to see as many people as possible join in because, you know, it's a free subscription, an annual subscription to Remind Magazine worth dollars, if 20 some odd bucks. It's an awesome deal. It's an awesome magazine. I just got, while we're waiting here, let me go full screen here. I just got the latest edition of Remind Magazine, I think a couple days ago, and I've just started leafing through it, but it looks phenomenal. It's the cover story is on country music, and it's got everybody from Johnny Cash to Garth Brooks in there. And then, you know, of course, it just, Remind Magazine talks about each of the decades. There's all sorts of great trivia in there. Lots of fun. Really good magazine. I am excited, ecstatic at the thought of being able to give out an annual subscription. I'm going to do it this month, and then I'm going to do it again in March. And then I do need to go back and reach out to our friends at Remind Magazine and see if they want to continue giving away their subscriptions. Like I said, it's extremely generous of them, and for that reason, I'll understand if they don't want to, but please get your name in the list or on the list. We've got, let me add this back on. We've got 30 entries so far. Scott, have you got your name in there?
I am in there.
Okay, Steve, have you got your name in there?
No. I can't figure out how to type in chats on the chat.
You can't figure out how to type? Put it hashtag reminder
the
there?
private chat, but I can't type into the comment section.
You and I can't do it in the chat. You have to do it in.
You have to have another window up and have to have YouTube up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You can just borrow my copy, Steve.
All right. Sounds good.
I do like some of the ones that are coming in, like Betamax and Micro Cassette. And thanks, Blackadder. You're making me laugh.
Those aren't going to work, Justin. Those are not going to work for you, my friend. You better get a remind in there. I see a rewind in there, too. Nice. All right. We're going to give folks 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We've got 35 entries in here. Let me click on the drawing button. All right. Tonight's winner is Tim the Enchanter. That's great. We've had Tim on a number of live streams, so that makes me very happy to see his name pop up. Here's the deal, Tim. I'm going to put part of my email address in the chat right now. There's the first part. And there's the second part. It's not rocket science. It's at yahoo.com. I don't want to do anything other than say first part was JD Sundstrom. Second part is at yahoo.com. Hopefully those bots that scrape email addresses and spam people will not figure it out from the audio or from the disjointed way that I shared it in the chat. But if you will send me your physical address, just send that into my email using the address that I gave you. I'll forward that on to the folks at Remind Magazine, and we'll get that subscription going for you. So again, congratulations. That is freaking awesome. Do I have some confetti? I ought to have some confetti for him. There we go. Nicely done. Well done, Tim the Enchanter. Congratulations to you. We'll stop that there. I could invite Dinah Girl and Bigfoot and the rest back on, but we won't do that tonight. All right. Okay. So now that we've taken care of Remind Magazine, what I'd like to do is share some commercial messages. So these aren't sponsored messages. This is a trip back in time. These are, if I had to pick sponsors, these would be the sponsors that I'd pick. But it also gives me a chance to get another Diet Coke and get ready for trivia. We have 80s trivia upcoming. So let me go ahead and fire up let's get rid of that. Let's go back to, oh, there we go. And let me go ahead and fire up the commercials. And we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
There's more for your life. Atari catalog that's new. There's your life. In store for you. Friendly smiles. All the latest style. There's for your life. In store for your life. There's more for your life.
Wednesday. Just when you thought it was safe. Carries the bait for a bigger fish.
I want you to kill a man. Cold soup.
But you can't keep a good man down.
What are you going to do to me?
Depends on you.
He's the fall guy.
Wednesday on ABC.
In the neighborhood, with O's and goals and goals.
Real good.
Marshmallow, flavored O, Ghostbusters taste great milk and juice, nutritious breakfast with the ghost. Fruit flavored O, marshmallow go. What are you gonna
In class, just another face in the crowd. In heaven, the hottest dance club in town. He's the main attraction. When the feeling hit them, there was no place hotter than heaven. A night in heaven. Rated R. Starts Friday at a selected theater near you.
The honest beauty of Stephanie Powers.
My makeup has to look as if it's part of me. So my makeup is moisture wear. Make it yours.
1 week from tonight, a motion picture that takes you beyond imagining. The day before. The day of. The day after. The day after. Special advised. Anybody there? Anybody at all?
The finer things in happily are affordable, like Grey Poupon Dijon mustard. Grey Poupon is so fine, it's even made with white wine. Its original French Dijon recipe adds distinctive flavor to beef, pork, and poultry, salad dressing and sauces, and of course sandwiches. So enjoy one of life's finer pleasures.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? But of course.
Grey Poupon. It even has wine.
All right. We may have lost Steve for a minute. He may be back. There he is. All right. I did see a few comments I wanted to address while we were watching commercials. First off, John Collins has a question about the process. He says, does the number of times we enter the word remind correspond with the number of times we are entered into the drawing? My understanding is that one time you can put hashtag remind in the chat many times. It still only counts as one. Everybody has one chance at it once you've entered in the hashtag remind. So everybody has the same chance. But good question. Thanks for asking. Also, Alo Duarte says, thank you very much. That's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for Tim. There you go. It's the song. It's the Lawrence Welk song. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever done for Tim. I promise to quit singing. Tim, one more time. There's the email address, the first part and the second part. Gary Carpenter says, hey, I just remembered Sally was on Star Trek. Yeah, Sally Kellerman was on the first Star Trek, the one of the very first episodes. And Thrash Pondo Pond says, is there feedback or am I having a stroke? You may catch a little feedback. You know what? StreamYard does a good job of canceling out. I'm sure I don't see any of us having headphones on. We're all using a speaker to hear it. And typically, StreamYard does a nice job of canceling that all out. But every now and again, I'll notice you'll hear just a little bit. And it depends on how loud we have our speakers, where we have our mics placed. They typically do a pretty good job of canceling that out. But every once in a while, you might get a little feedback. And sorry about that. I don't want you to ever worry about having a stroke. That's not a good thing. And David Kerbau says, Morgan Brittany is my girlfriend. Yes, that's the ticket. My girlfriend. What are you? What was that guy's name? Tommy Flanagan, right? Tommy Flanagan on SNL. Played by, not Piscopo. What was the little guy's name?
John Lovitz.
Yeah, John Lovitz. That's right. John Lovitz played, but it wasn't Morgan Brittany. It was Morgan Fairchild that he was always saying was his wife, if I remember right.
That's right, Morgan Fairchild.
Yeah, that's a ticket. My girlfriend or his wife, depending on the episode of SNL. All right, great comments. Thanks, everybody. Let's see. Ian says, Golden Rage of TV, talking to Pat. Dave said that I was going to see you. What's going on? I think we might be talking about next Wednesday when we're doing talking about Star Trek on Pat's next live stream. So should be a good conversation. Like I said earlier, with Barry King as well. Lots of fun. All right. And Pat says StreamYard is a different animal. Great, though. Yeah, it is. There's some simplicity about it. I mean, it's pretty easy to set up a live stream, but every once in a while you get some different things. So there you go. All right. So let me bring this onto the stream here. It's time for some 80s trivia. How do you guys feel about 80s trivia? You guys were both around. You existed during the 80s, right?
Yeah, you and I graduated high school in the early 80s.
Yeah, was it?
And
were
I
you
graduated in the late 80s.
Yeah, were you the same year as me, Scott, or were you a year earlier?
I was 82.
Nope, you same year. Yep. Steve, you were 87?
89.
89. Okay. All right. Yeah, you're I forget. Okay. You're so young. You're so young. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get going, and we'll see let's see between the two of you if you can get all of these questions. All right. But don't answer them immediately. We'll let folks in the chat answer as well. But if you know it, great. You can kind of work, and as you, Scott, if you think you have some certainty, you can tell Steve, and Steve vice versa. Got it? All right, let's get rolling. Question number 1. Which famous nightclub had held a grand closing party in 1980? Which famous nightclub? And by the way, I got to say, hang on a second. I got to give credit where credit's due. Again, Remind Magazine. Let me see what the name of the author. I borrowed a handful of her questions, not all of them, but her name's Laura Chilopik, so I want to give her credit. 6 or 7 of these questions are from Laura from Remind Magazine. So thank you, Laura. Appreciate that. And thank you, Remind Magazine, for letting me use them. All right. Which famous nightclub held a grand closing party in 1980? Scott or Steve, do either of you know with certainty?
I am very, very confident in my answer. Certainty is a relative term.
Yeah, I'm like 95% confident on my answer.
Okay. Are you 95% too, Scott?
Yes.
Let's see. Oops, wrong way. Still wrong way. I wrote Studio 54. There we go. There it is.
All right. You guys are 1 for 1. Good work. Everybody that got that. We'll check scores after the first 3 questions. Question number 2. What singer starred as Mabel in The Pirates of Penzance on Broadway in 1981? Was it Debbie Gibson, Linda Ronstadt, Marie Osmond, or Olivia Newton-John? Again, don't share your answer yet, fellers. Let's give folks 30 or so seconds to answer the question in the chat. Let me see if I got a 30-second timer. Here's a 30-second timer. We'll give them that long. And while we're waiting for folks, what's your certainty on this one, Scott?
Less than 50%.
Stephen?
Yeah, it's not very. I don't have a high level of confidence on this one.
Okay. All right. Well, that's. We may be in trouble on this one. I'm gonna ask Scott. Hang on a second. Let's take the timer off. I'm going to ask you to give it your best bet. Since you were kind of around more than Steve, since this was 81, who do you think it might be?
I want to go with Linda Ronstadt.
Okay. I think
Linda Ronstadt, Debbie Gibson, one of those two.
Well, you got to go with one or the other.
Well, I'll stick with my first one, Linda Ronstadt.
Well done. Well done. Yeah, nicely done. We're 2 of 2. Thank you for pulling it out. You pulled the rabbit out of the hat, Scott. Nice work. Okay, let's go to question number 3.
Before you go to 3, didn't she train for that? Didn't she stop singing pop music and go and do?
I think she may have.
Somewhere in the back of my mind that sticks, that she went and got trained to sing from this without a mic and screaming into it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's just a different style of singing than what she was used to with the kind of country rock stuff that she was doing.
Right.
Yep. All right. Question number 3. Which movie won the Academy Award for Best Picture in 1982? Was it E.T., Ghostbusters, Kramer v. Kramer, or Terms of Endearment? I'll put the timer in, and I'll gauge certainty from you fellers in just a second here. Take a look and see what folks are saying. Oh, Pat says, I want to with Linda too, but I'm sure she'd reject me. I'm not sure what we're talking about. To perform with Linda, maybe? I don't know. Oh, Pat said that Marie was his guess. Interesting. Lots of folks were going with Olivia Newton-John. Oh, Pat says that his bandmate, Wally Kurth, who he starred in General Hospital with, I believe, played the Pirate King. Excellent. Okay. I think I probably let the 30 seconds go on. So let's do this. Let me go ahead and go back here, take the timer off, and let's get rid of that comment. So many comments. But what's your certainty, Scott?
I'm fairly certain on this because just because of remembering high school graduation and the movies that came out that year and everything. So,
Steve, how's your certainty on this one?
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable with this one as well.
Well, you let Scott answer the last one. If you're feeling pretty comfortable,
I'm going to say it's Kramer versus Kramer. Oh, I blew it for
Man,
us,
I
Scott.
blew it as well. I was confident it was E.T.
Terms of endearment. I'm not sure if E.T. was even nominated. Maybe it was nominated. Spielberg, of course, was. I'm sure he was nominated for director, but yeah. And Kramer versus Kramer was a couple years beforehand, Steve, I believe, and it was the winner of the Best Picture.
Yeah, I knew it was a Best Picture. Kramer versus Kramer. I just thought it was that year. They got me on that.
All right, we're 2 for 3. Let's see how folks are doing in the chat. Hang on, let me see if we can get some scores here. Let's see. Scrolling through answers. Let's see if we get some. I see. Here's some scores. Keith Risk, welcome to the live stream, Keith. By the way, 3 for 3. Kenneth Wilkinson is 2 of 3. Tom has added a bonus question and is only 1 of 4, so you're 1 of 3, Tom. Emily is 2 of 3. James Dye, 1 of 3. Superfan Jill Carter, 3 of 3. TJ921 Abel, 2 of 3. I'm sorry. Lamont says I'm wrong. It may have been awarded in 83, but I believe it was for the year 1982. I'll have to go back and double check that, though. Let's see. Tom McCluskey's 1 of 3. Superfan Nancy D's 3 of 3. John Stemmer's 2 of 3. Superfan Miles High is 2 of 3. Alo Duarte's 3 of 3. And let's see. David Kerbau is 2 out of 3. John H. 2 out of 3. Dominic D. 2 out of 3. Kimberly Wiederhold 2 out of 3. Danny D's 1 for 3. John Collins says 0 for 3, but Pat's live streams are awesome. You get bonus points for saying nice things about Pat's live streams. So good work there, John. Charlie Jordan's 2 of 3. Superfan Georgia Ayers is 2 of 3. Rich Atwood's 2 of 3. Karen Lester's 2 of 3. Daryl Johnson's 2 of 3. Kramer, was 1979. Thresh Pondo's 2 of 3. Buddy Risk, 3 of 3. Superfan Spike Spikerson's at 2.75. Nicely done. Aviation Dance Nerds, 0 of 3. Custom Gods, 1 of 3. And Todd McCreary is, what did he say it was? Donutsville is what he said. Pat McCormick's 2 of 3. Sakina McMurrin's 2 of 3. Lamont Bradford, 2 of 2. Number 3 was the wrong question. Okay, we're going to determine that. Hang on a second here. Let's add this back to the screen. I'm going to type in Best Picture 1982.
It's I just looked it up. It's Chariots of Fire.
Oh my goodness! So scratch it, everybody. Scratch that question. We're at 2 of 2 now. You're 2 of 2. That question has to be eliminated. And I get to blame the young lady at Remind Magazine, I think, unless I added that one. That's possible that I added that one and got it wrong. Okay, I won't blame anybody but myself. Okay, let's keep moving. Thanks for catching me, keeping me honest, folks. And let's go back. Let's get that off the screen. Thanks for checking, Scott. Let's add this back. And let's keep moving. So remember, this is question 3, actually. Question 3. Which show featured the following characters? Blair, Joe, Natalie, Tootie, and Mrs. Garrett. Was it Charles in Charge, Different Strokes, Facts of Life, or Hello, Larry? You know what? I'm going to hold people to the 30 seconds on this one because I think it's pretty darn easy.
You could hold people to 3 seconds on this one. That's how.
Yeah, is your level of certainty pretty high, Steve?
Yeah.
Scott, you too? Okay.
If anybody's a fan of your live stream, this should come as no. This should be right up there, easy to get.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Okay, Steve, why don't you give us the answer?
This would be the Facts of Life.
You take the good, you take the bad.
Yep, take them both, and there you have.
Yep, the Facts of Life. All right, let's keep moving. Question 4. Question 4, not 5. I've already messed this thing up tonight. All right, this historic band's music was released on CD for the first time on February 26, 1987. Was it AC/DC, the Beatles, Fleetwood Mac, or Led Zeppelin? I'll throw the timer in, and we'll gauge certainty. Scott, how are you feeling about this one?
Well, fairly confident because at least 3 of those were 70s bands.
Right, but think about this.
Bands.
It's these bands
released on CD.
Yes, these bands held out and didn't release their music on CD for a long time. And later on, the same scenario played out with MP3s, and certain musicians didn't want their music released digitally. So, Steve, how about you? How are you feeling certainty-wise on this one?
I'm about 70%.
All right, Scott, can you beat that 70%?
Oh, no.
All right, Steve, you're up then. What's the answer?
I believe it's the Beatles.
That is correct. All right. Good job. So that makes us 4 of 4, since the one we missed 2 was the incorrect answer. And Scott, did you have Beatles written down?
I did.
Nicely done.
Yeah, I remember they made a big deal of releasing it on CD when it came out for the Beatles. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because the Beatles were holdouts for other things too, so that's
yeah. Apple Records, they were very careful about dipping their toes into the new technology. They wanted to make sure that they were protecting the bands, the copyrights, the music, all that stuff. All right.
If you'd have put Metallica in there, I would have gone for them, but
that was the MP3 thing. They held out
for
a long time.
Yeah.
I think Prince held out for quite a while. AC/DC might have held out too, if I remember right. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Then we'll check scores. Question 5, by the way, here, not 6. Scott or Steve, I'm going to rely on you to come up with one of you come up with an 80s question at the very end here for us to make up for my tremendous goof on that one question. But this question is, what was the name of the inn that Dick and Joanna owned on the television sitcom Newhart? Was it the Concord Inn, Lakeside Lodge, Stratford Inn, or Town and Country? Putting the 30-second timer on now, and I'll gauge some certainty here. Steve, how are you feeling certainty-wise on this one?
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable with it.
I need a number.
All right, like 70-ish, 70%.
Scott, can you beat 70%?
I'm 98% confident.
Okay, we're going with you then on this one. 98 beats 70 every time. Okay, so let's give folks a few more seconds here to answer the question. And what is the answer, Scott?
The Stratford Inn.
Correct. Nicely done. All right, is that where you were going, Steve?
That is the one I would have chosen, yep.
Nicely done. All right, question 6. Again, I've messed things up, but, that's the way it rolls with these live streams. So here we go. The final episode of this sitcom aired on May 14th, 1989, with an audience of over 36 million. The big hints there, I think, are the network and the year that it ended. So your choices are Cheers, Cosby, Family Ties, and Seinfeld. Let me start the timer. Steve or Scott, I'll start with you. How's your certainty on this one?
No, I was busy in the Army at this time, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't have a high degree of faith in this one.
So, it's funny you mentioned being in the Army. Got a call. I know you did some recruiting for a while. I got a call from a recruiter today wanting to talk to my middle son. I told him of all days to call. This was probably not the day to call if he wanted to rustle up volunteers with all the crap going on in the world. But
well, I was recruiting during Desert Storm as well. So
yeah, I guess you come up with people that are gung-ho and want to go over there and really be part of, something that they believe in. And then you got people that might have been on the fence that are saying, oh, nope, I'm out. Never mind. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
All right. So, Steve, what's your certainty on this one?
Well, there's two of them that I think could have ended in 89. I know one for a fact ended in 89. So I'll say I'm pretty confident on my answer on this.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and go with it.
Family Ties ran through 89. So I'll say Family Ties.
Nicely done. Good work. All right. Let me check scores real quick here. Let me scroll down to new comments. And TJ921 Abel had it as well. He said, this is definitely Family Ties. So all you had to do was look at TJ921. Folks, give me scores. Give me scores. David Kerbow says, my son just finished basic training, still in Oklahoma. Hey, thank your son for his service on our behalf. Let's see. Keith Risk, 6 of 6. Yeah, we're on step, 6 of 6. Good job keeping track of the right numbers for us. John H., 5 of 6. Danny D., 4 of 6. Custom God, 3 of 6. Aloe Duarte, 6 for 6. Thrash Pondo, 5 of 6. John Stemmer, 5 of 6. Tom McCluskey's only got 1 so far. Todd McCreary, 3 of 6. Kenneth Wilkinson, 5 of 6. Miles High, Superfan Miles High, 4 of 6. Superfan Buddy Mills, 6 of 6. James Dye, 4 of 6. Superfan Georgia Ayers, I know I've screwed up the numbers, but it looks like you've missed 2 so far, so we'll say 4 of 6. Emily Miller, 4 of 6. Karen Lester, 5 of 6. Rich Atwood, 4 of 6. Superfan Jill Cotter, 5 of 6. Superfan Nancy D, 5 of 6. Lamont Bradford, 6 of 6. Good job. Charlie Jordan, 4 for 6. Kimberly Wiederhold, 5 of 6. Superfan Spike Spikerson, 5 of 6. Superfan Georgia Ayers, 5 of 6. Tim the Enchanter, our magazine subscription winners, 3 of 6. TJ921 Abel said it well. Thankful for your son's service. God bless you and your family. Absolutely. Totally agree. David Kerbo, thank you for the correction on the pronunciation. Says 6 out of 6. Nicely done. Tracy Roth Myers, superfan Tracy Roth Myers, 5 of 6. Nick Mamonis, 4 of 6. Sakina McMurrin, 4 of 6. TJ921 Abel, 5 of 6. Daryl Johnston, 5 of 6. Superfan Mike D says, I am sadly at the bottom of the barrel today with a big, I don't know what that is, if that's a
uppercase 0.
Okay, there you go. Sorry about that, Superfan Mike D. Keith Risk, we just threw that question out, but thank you for identifying the incorrect answer. If you want to give yourself a bonus point, feel free to do so. Well deserved. Superfan Mike D says a big 0. Spike Spikerson, superfan Spike Spikerson says we have a kid in the Marines. One of our other kids is married to a spy. Good gravy. Well, thank them for their service as well. Superfan John Collins, 3 of 6. All right, let's keep moving. Get that off the screen and move on to question number, not 8, but 7. Question number 7. And it is, how many Star Wars movies had a theatrical release during the 80s? Starting the timer. Star Wars movies that had a theatrical release during the 80s. Level of certainty, Stephen Sundstrom.
100% on this.
Level of certainty, Scott Barnes.
Oh, not 100, that's for sure.
I love 100%. You're really, you put yourself on the line a little bit when you say 100%.
Yeah, it's kind of a jackass thing to say.
Well, we'll call you on it here.
Yeah,
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I'll be very embarrassed if I'm wrong.
No, you won't. It's not a big deal. No one cares. What's the number, Steve?
Well, the funny thing is, the movies used to stay in the theater for a long time. But my wife, when her parents went into labor during Empire Strikes Back, and my wife was born in 80, so I know at least, I'm going to say 2 were released in the 80s.
Correct. 80 for Empire Strikes Back and 83 for Return of the Jedi. Now, there were some other Star Wars movies. There were some TV movies. That's why I added theatrical releases to the question itself. So there were some other kind of movies but the theatrical releases during the 80s were Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. The original Star Wars came out in 77. So good job. You were 100% correct. So you were 100% right about your 100% certainty.
There we go.
Question 8. Here we go. And we'll check scores at the end here. What was the name of the musician who organized Live Aid? Let me start the timer. Scott Barnes, what's your level of certainty? Was it Bob Geldof, Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, or Kenny Rogers? Don't say the answer. What's your level of certainty?
About 90%.
Pretty high. Stephen, what's your level of certainty on this one?
Do you need to ask?
I'm guessing it's 100%.
It's 100%.
All right, we'll let you answer it here in about 8 seconds then. 2 questions at 100% certainty. That's something else. That is something else. All right, what's the correct answer, Steve?
Yeah, it's Bob Geldof. Yeah.
That is correct, and Scott had it as well. Steve and I are both big Boomtown Rats fans, and Bob Geldof was the lead singer of the Boomtown Rats. Okay, last question, unless we can come up with a bonus question at the end here. We'll see if we can come up with something. But last question, question number 9, is this. What is the spirit that takes hold of Sigourney Weaver's character in the film Ghostbusters? Is it Loki, Slimer, Urumlib, or Zool? I'll start the timer. Scott, what's your level of certainty on this one?
No, I'm pulling a Steve here. 100.
100%. Steve, your level of certainty?
The same. Yep, that one's an easy one.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that easy of a question. We'll let Scott answer it here when we get to the when the timer has run out of time. Oh, what do you think, Scott?
Oh, it is definitely Zool.
Zool is the correct answer. All right. 9 questions in. Scott, Steve, I messed up one question horribly. Do any of you have a question that we can throw out there to make it an even 10?
I think so. And this is probably one that you've done before in these trivia questions, but I know that people like Family Ties. Who was Alex Keaton's or Michael J. Fox's girlfriend for a few episodes? Very famous actress.
Let's give some names. Throw out some names as your multiple choice.
I wasn't prepared for multiple choice.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Was it Jennifer Aniston, Jenna Elfman, or Courtney Cox? I can only come up with 3.
Well, you came up with 2 more than I knew, so.
There you go. So we'll give folks, let me start the timer. And since you asked the question, Steve, what's your level of certainty on this one?
95%.
95%. Not willing to go 100 on this one?
No, I'm pretty sure I know it.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I know you know it, Scott, since you came up with the question. So, Steve, you can give it the answer in about 10 seconds here, or provide us with an answer. While we're waiting, let me go ahead and take the timer off and remind folks that I would appreciate a thumbs up if you're enjoying the live stream tonight.
Hey, folks, if you're enjoying this live stream, be like the Fonz and give it a thumbs up. Hey.
Yes, be like the Fonz.
And the Jump the Shark episode, huh?
That's right. Okay, what's the correct answer, Steve?
It's Courtney Cox.
Yes, indeed. Courtney also made an appearance in Bruce Springsteen video. Does anyone remember what video it was?
Bruce Springsteen.
If you might be tempted to say the wrong one. You got to think about this one. Bruce Springsteen video from the 80s, around 84-ish. Either of you know?
Mm-mm.
Let's see if anybody in the chat knows. Let me look down. Oh, yep, I see an answer already. Our good friend Nick Malmonis knows the answer. It was the first single off of the Born in the USA album, Dancing in the Dark.
Ooh.
Nicely done.
Very nice.
Lots of folks are answering it now. Rich Atwood, Starlin Say, James Dye, Kimberly Wiederhold. I missed John Stemmer, I think. Where are you, John? There you are. And Sakina McMurrin. Lots of folks got it. All right, let's see some scores. Okay, I see superfan John Collins says 7 of 10, made an amazing comeback. It's like I won the Super Bowl with 1 second left in the fourth quarter. Woohoo! Superfan Jill Carter, 9 of 10. Emily Miller, 8 of 10. James Dye, 8 of 10. Let's see. Superfan Tracy Roth Myers, 8 of 10. Danny D, 7 of 10. Rich Atwood, 8 of 10. John Stammer, 9 of 10. Tim the Enchanter, 6 of 10. David Kerbo, 10 out of 10. Charlie Jordan, 8 of 10. Keith Risk, 9 of 10. Superfan Nancy D, 8 of 10. Kimberly Wiederhold, 9 of 10. Custom God, 6 of 10. Thrash Pondo, 9 of 10. Keith E, 5 of 10. Superfan Georgia Ayers, 8 of 10. Says, I was in high school when George Lucas put the first 3 Star Wars films out. Superfan Mike D says, 4 of 10. Rich Atwood, the answer to your question is Joyce Heiser, the star of the movie Just One of the Guys. Hungry Jerk, 4 of 10. Daryl Johnston, 8 of 10. Superfan Spike Spikerson says, I think I got 11 out of 10 due to the bonus questions. Yeah, I'm sure you did. Sakina McMurrin, 7 of 10. Buddy Mills, 10 of 10. Starlin says, I'm drunk, so I'm out. All right. Have a good night, Starlin. Take care. Be careful out there, buddy. Superfan Buddy Mills, 10 of 10. Danny Staten had to change phones. Sometimes you got to do that. You know, batteries won't run down. Superfan or Emily Miller's 8 of 11. And Keith Risk wants to know who was Springsteen's drummer. Does anybody remember the name of the drummer for Springsteen? I do, but he was also the drummer on Conan's show, right? When it was Late Night with Conan O'Brien. The correct answer is Max Weinberg. All right. Well, guys, it has been tremendous having both of you on this live stream this evening. You know, this is old times for me. It's my earliest live streams often included these two fellers right here. So a huge thank you to both of you for joining tonight. Steve, again, remind us what your latest video is all about.
It's about the remake of, not a remake, but just an adaptation of the 1987 movie, The Secret of My Success. And it's the efforts to make that a Broadway play.
Awesome.
Musical.
And you can see here's a picture of Steve's channel. I actually took it a few days ago, so we don't have that video on here, but there's lots of great videos here. I'd highly recommend the one on Whatever Happened to Jenna Van Oy. For those folks who don't remember her, she was in the sitcom Blossom, the NBC sitcom Blossom. There's also a nice tribute to Peter Scolari as well. So thanks for joining, Steve. Scott, thank you so much, my friend. What's going on? I know you don't have a YouTube channel, but any projects that you're working on these days?
Redoing the back bedroom. So it's finally time to get it finished and over the line. So once it warms up, I'll be making some more new things.
Awesome. One of the handiest guys I know, Mr. Scott Barnes. All right, fellers, thank you so much. And to everyone that joined us this evening, truly appreciate your engagement, your participation. It's been a lot of fun. You know, I can't tell you, it's crazy in my mind to think that an hour and a half has passed because it's just flown by. It's if someone had told me a couple of years ago that I'd be doing live streams on a relatively weekly basis and we'd be talking about, you know, whatever for an hour and a half, I'd say you're absolutely crazy. But the reason it's so easy to do is because of everybody in the community and your engagement. So thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. For those folks that want to stick around, we'll have about a half hour of good stuff television, GSTV, to kind of finish off the evening, and you guys can continue to chat. But again, I want to say thanks to Scott and Steve, and to everyone else. Just have a great night. I'll fire up the first video, and thanks again, Scott and Steve. Take care.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Good seeing you, Scott.
You too, Stevie.
Got to find it. Got to fire it up. Get it going here.
I'm going to drop, go read to the kids, get them in bed. See ya.
All right. See you, Steve. Have a good one.
So deep a friendship hath one man for another that no female caress shall ever tear it asunder. Boy, the guy that wrote that must have been some kind of a nut.
How do you heal a broken heart when you don't know where to start? She fell out of love long before I did. She said we needed some time apart. Well, welcome to the Donna School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above. Girl number 2 was named Thelma Lou. I got into Griffith, and the girl, she wanted me bad, but she left me standing at the altar waiting. I guess she didn't know what she had. Well, welcome to the Donna School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above. Welcome to the Donna School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above. Janet and Chrissy were a couple of girls who were living next door to me. I was a real distant early. I dated them on and off for a while, just enough for them both to see that I graduated from the Donna School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above. Welcome to the Donna School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above. Welcome to the Donna School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above. Welcome to the Donna School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above.
I feel sorry for you, baby. You had your chance to fly with me, but you wasn't woman enough.
Ken Berry always seemed like he would be one of those guys who would be really just great to have over to dinner. You know the type, kind and courteous, thoughtful to a fault. You know, a real Boy Scout. So when I heard that he had passed on, my mind went back to all of the different things that I'd seen him in over the years. Some really great entertainment. And then I thought about the fact that I hadn't really seen much of Ken in recent years. I guess that's to be expected. He was 85 after all. Still, for a guy who was so darn funny in F Troop, you'd think he'd have had a career that would have played out to the very end. I remember watching F Troop with my dad. He didn't watch a lot of TV, but he thought this show was funny. I was more into superheroes and science fiction, but because it was quality TV time with the old man, I watched, and I grew to love the show. Sure, Tucker and Storch were the goofballs on the show, but Barry's Captain Wilton Parmenter was tons of fun to watch as well. Ken has said that working on F Troop was one of the happiest times in his life, and I believe it. Prior to breaking into television, Barry had served in the U.S. military, first as an artilleryman, but later as an entertainer. It was there that he served under Sergeant Leonard Nimoy. Yep, Mr. Spock himself. Later on, when they were both out of the service and Nimoy was already an established star, he pulled strings to help Ken get TV work. So speaking of TV work, we've already talked about F Troop, but the role that I think was Ken's best was that of Sam Jones. First in the Andy Griffith Show and then in its spin-off, Mayberry RFD. Sure, he wasn't Andy, but he was a wonderful character in and of himself. Sam was, quite frankly, more affable than Andy. You know, in those later seasons of the Andy Griffith Show, Sheriff Taylor, he had kind of an edge, if you ask me. And Sam Jones, well, definitely not as edgy. Just a really nice guy. Something that wasn't as nice was the rural purge that CBS enacted right around the time that the network had to make a decision about a fourth season for Mayberry RFD, as well as other shows like Petticoat Junction and Green Acres that were on the network. In the end, they decided to can them all in favor of hip urban comedies like Maude and All in the Family. CBS would no longer be known as the Country Broadcasting Network. They were heading uptown without Sam Jones and all of the other fine folks in Mayberry. After Mayberry RFD's untimely cancellation, Ken made a guest appearance on The Brady Bunch in an episode titled Kelly's Kids that clearly looked like a pilot for another Sherwood Schwartz heartwarming family comedy. However, for whatever reason, the networks, all of them, took a pass on the show that would have had Barry's character adopting a multiracial family. Maybe it was just a little ahead of its time. Barry found work on the big screen as well, primarily Disney stuff, you know, solid family fare. My favorite of the bunch had to be Herbie Rides Again. You know, I always thought that I might own a car like Herbie someday. Either that or the Batmobile. Sadly, neither have happened. Minivans and SUVs have been the vehicles of choice for my family. Still, someday, just like Ken Barry's character in Herbie Rides Again, I might get me a little VW Bug. Or the Batmobile. Wait, probably the Batmobile. The next thing I remember about Ken Barry was his appearances on shows like The Love Boat and Fantasy Island. This had to be fun for Ken because of the varied roles that he could play. He didn't always have to be the nice guy. He could play against type and surprise the audience. Love Boat and Fantasy Island, well, they were a great way for future stars as well as stars of yesteryear to continue to find work. And just as importantly, to continue to get paid. Sure, these shows weren't high art, but they served their purpose and they kept me entertained, especially when folks like Ken showed up. And Ken wasn't done. It really isn't fair to call him a star of yesteryear when he had a long-running show in the 80s called Mama's Family. This show was a spin-off from an ongoing sketch on the Carol Burnett Show where Ken had been a frequent guest star. In Mama's Family, Ken played Vicki Lawrence's son. Back to type, he was kind and ever so patient with his crazy family. Especially that wacky mama of his. Mama's Family ran from 83 to 90. 7 solid seasons. Starting on NBC, if I remember correctly, it ended in syndication. After that, work really did dry up. Ken guest starred on The Golden Girls in the 90s, but didn't find any work at all in the 21st century. Maybe it was enough. After all, Ken was in his 60s when he finally retired for good. Still, one gets the sense that he should have found more work. That we should have been able to invite him into our homes through the magic of television more often. Oh well, it was a good run, Ken, and you are indeed a good man. Thank you for the smiles and the laughter. Thank you for being you. So that's it. What do you think? Were you a fan of F Troop, Mayberry RFD, or just something else that Ken Barry showed up in? Share your memories in the comments section, and while you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And I would be absolutely honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, I really mean this, thank you so much for watching this video. Hey folks, you found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next.
Oh, you finally found your young Prince Charming. Too bad your breath is so alarming.
Brush your breath, brush your breath, brush your breath with Dentine.
You made her notice you're alive, but she smelled your breath and took a dive.
Brush your breath, brush your breath, brush your breath with Dentine.
Not even mouthwash can freshen your breath more effectively than when you're chewing Dentine.
Gee, your birthday party was quite a treat till your breath just knocked them off their feet.
Brush your breath, brush your breath, brush your breath with Dentine.
If you are a fan of the song Think of Laura by Christopher Cross, it's also likely that you have memories of the song being used non-stop in the early 80s by the daytime soap opera General Hospital. And way back then, General Hospital was at the absolute height of its popularity. It was one of those rare moments where a daytime soap caught the eye of a younger generation. Heck, the darn show even had its own novelty song. During the summer of 1981, General Hospital made it to the Billboard Top 40. And of course, good old Rick Springfield was making a name for himself as Dr. Noah Drake on the show. He was also rocking hard on the charts with the single Jessie's Girl. But it was the unlikely romance of Luke Spencer and Laura Weber that really captured the nation's fancy. Laura was played by Jeannie Francis, a girl who at the time, if I remember correctly, wasn't even 20 years old when Fame and Fortune hit. And ABC, well, they did everything that they could to capitalize on the Luke and Laura phenomena. When they finally got married in 1981, well, even Elizabeth Taylor showed up for the blessed event. And shortly after the wedding, much to the chagrin of fans everywhere, Laura mysteriously disappeared, leaving poor Luke to be haunted by her memory. And as time passed, whenever Luke would think back, or perhaps catch a glimpse of someone who reminded him of his lost love, Christopher Cross's Think of Laura from his second album, Another Page, would play in the background. It really was, well, it was perfect. And then when Laura finally did return, well, the song had been used so much that it was easy for a frequent viewer to think that the song had been written specifically for the show. I know I did. But the truth is that Christopher Cross had written this beautiful song as a comfort for his girlfriend Paige, seen in this promotional photo here, who had lost a very close friend in a terrible, horrible, tragic accident. Paige's friend Laura Carter had been sitting in the back seat of her parents' car when a stray bullet from a gang fight about a block away hit and killed her. It was such a senseless tragedy. One of those things that is truly hard to make any sort of sense out of. One minute, Laura was visiting with her parents in their car, and the next moment, without any sort of warning, she was gone. Sadly, these accidents still happen from time to time, even today. After seeing the impact of the tragedy on those friends and family members who loved Laura dearly, Christopher went to work. It was a daunting task. He needed to write a song that could help those who were hurting the most. A song that would comfort and at least for a moment or two provide a tiny bit of peace as they reflected on Laura's life. The end result, Think of Laura, is one of Christopher Cross's best known songs. These days he often dedicates his live performances of the song to someone near and dear who is no longer with us. While written about Laura Carter, the song's haunting and melancholy themes, well, they're truly universal. So that's it. One more picture of Christopher Cross performing Think of Laura, this time from a recent New Jersey concert. So did you think the song was written about General Hospital's Laura? Or did you know the real story behind the song? Share your memories in the comments section, and while you're at it, I would love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I would be absolutely honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Peter Paul enjoys cutting
Peter Paul Mount so because.
Hey folks, you found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next.
Hey folks, if you're enjoying this live stream, be like the Fonz and give it a thumbs up. Hey.
Sid and Marty Krofft. These guys were responsible for some really nutty Saturday morning kids shows. Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, the Bugaloos, and let's not forget Electra Woman and Dyna Girl. But my favorite show, and the one that really kind of freaked me out the most, was Lidsville. So without any further ado, here are 5 reasons why I believe that Lidsville is one of the greatest kids shows ever. The first reason is that nutty, crazy premise of the show. I know, at first blush, it does kind of appear that it's a retread of H.R. Pufnstuf. But look deeper, and what the heck, look sideways if you want, and you'll see that there is a whole lot more going on. While H.R. Pufnstuf was clearly inspired to a certain extent by The Wizard of Oz, Lidsville seems to take its inspiration more from Alice in Wonderland. Yep, Sid and Marty Krofft definitely made Lewis Carroll proud with this one. Apparently the idea came to Sid Krofft one day while he was going through his vast and extensive hat collection. All of a sudden the idea came to him. What if all of these hats came to life? Okay, I know, it's nutty. But I think it's just as plausible as that common belief that the Krofft brothers were big partiers and they came up with these ideas while partaking of certain substances, which, by the way, they vehemently deny. Anyway, the premise was great. And so was the cast. 18-year-old Butch Patrick was a nice bit of casting given his prior television role as Eddie Munster, but the 2 standouts were Billy Hayes, playing against type as Weenie the Genie, and Charles Nelson Riley. Hayes had gained quite a bit of fame playing Witchy Poo in H.R. Pufnstuf, and it was great to see her doing a different type of character. While watching this as a kid, I had no idea that Weenie and Witchy Poo were played by the same actress, and I think that says a lot about Hayes' range as an actress. But as good as she was, no one matches Charles Nelson Riley as Hoodoo the Magician. This comedian and actor literally chewed up every scene that he was in. He was so good. It is a shame that when the character did return years later on other Sid and Marty Krofft shows, Riley was no longer the actor portraying him. Reason number 3 is the theme song. Holy cow, this might have been the longest theme song ever on a Saturday morning kids show. And quite frankly, it was great. As a matter of fact, as much as I love the Bugaloos theme song, inserting photo of the wonderful Bugaloos right here, right now, I think I might like this theme song better. Written by the same guy who had worked on other Sid and Marty Krofft ventures, Les Sarvis, the theme song provides the horrifying details about how young Mark ended up in crazy, wacky Lidsville. As you might guess, it's his fascination with magic matched with equal amounts of curiosity and snoopiness that get the best of him. The weird part about this song is that I have literally spent hours on the internet trying to figure out not who wrote this masterpiece, good job Les, but instead who performed it. And I can't find anything. It's a shame that this performance will appear to go uncredited. The 4th reason for Lidsville's greatness is the Krofft brothers' willingness to go dark with the premise. The show had a handful of genuinely scary moments, including the opening sequence that literally had me losing sleep as a kid. And again, going back to Charles Nelson Riley's manic performance, yeah, he was funny, but he was also pretty darn scary as well. Way scarier than Witchy Poo. Before we get to reason number 5, can I just point out that like all Sid and Marty Krofft shows, this one had some great merchandising tie-ins. Long before George Lucas reinvented the fine art of selling stuff to kids, Sid and Marty were doing a pretty good job on their own. Lunchboxes, comic books, and Halloween costumes even. Yep, they knew what they were doing. I personally owned a couple of those comic books. In fact, those Gold Key comics were really fun to read. They were different than DC and Marvel. Frequently they were movie and television tie-ins, and they felt like, well, B-movie equivalents of the big guys. Still, I ate them up, especially the Star Trek comics that came from Gold Key. But wait, we're talking about Lidsville here, so let's get to my last reason, the number 5 reason that Lidsville is so great, which is that, much like Gilligan's Island, young Mark would never be rescued. There was no hope. Hoodoo was just toying with him, like he did all of the other inhabitants of Lidsville. He was at his core a cruel villain, which led to a true sense of danger in every episode. Come to think of it, that might be why the show was so darn scary to me as a kid. You just knew, deep down, that Mark was never going to see his family again. So that's it. Were you a fan of Lidsville? Whether you were or not, tell me why in the comments section below. And while you're at it, I would love a thumbs up, and I'd be honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
Born in the arms of the USA, raised on a rock and roll
When you get up to get a drink, you really ought to stop and think about the ways to quench your heavy thirst. The refrigerator's loaded, but before you grab a soda, why not try a big wet glass of water first? Oh, water is a drink that you can trust. No one's ever lost teeth from rust. So try to drink 6 glasses, use the fountain between your classes. When you're thirsty, reach for water. You know you really ought to. It's the best no-calorie drink in all the world.
Yep, that's me, standing in front of the Mount Airy city limit sign. My wife is taking the photo and shaking her head, trying to figure out why I was so darn excited about visiting this sleepy little North Carolina town. A town where, depending on what street you were on, well, it really looks like time has stood still. And if you think about it, that's what the Andy Griffith Show was all about. It represented a simpler time, even back in the 1960s when it originally aired. And Mayberry, well, Andy has gone on record and said that Mount Airy is not Mayberry. Still, I think there are plenty of people who would argue that point with Mr. Griffith. As I strolled down Main Street, it sure looked a lot like Mayberry to me. The gift shop sure wanted me to think so. Posters, t-shirts, all sorts of wonderful Mayberry-related merchandise were available for purchase. There was even a Mayberry escape room. But why, oh why would I want to escape? Nope, to the contrary, I wanted to stay in this wonderful little town as long as I could. I really did feel like I was transported back in time. Although I've got to say, try as I might, I was not able to find any place that would sell me a delicious and refreshing bottle of Coke for 5 cents. A little further down the street, however, I did stumble across Floyd's City Barbershop. Yep, Andy used to get his hair cut here. From this guy, Russell Hyatt. He was the original inspiration for Floyd the Barber. He has since passed on. However, his son Bill still carries on the legacy. And even though I explained that I really didn't need a haircut, he still insisted that I sit in his barbershop chair for a photo. Bill is an absolute gentleman who took a lot of pride in his family shop. And if you have the time, well, so does he. Yep, that's just the way people in Mayberry are. Oops, I mean Mount Airy. Next up was a visit around the corner and up the block to the Andy Griffith Museum, which is located next to the Andy Griffith Playhouse. I love the statues of Andy and Opie walking to their fishing hole. Again, my wife has just got to be wondering what the heck she's gotten into. I'm so sorry, baby. You get to pick the next place we go to. Once we got into the museum, I was formally deputized by my good friend Lucas.
Lucas, thank you, man.
No problem. I want to make you a sheriff for today, okay? There you go. There you go.
Right there.
You are now deputized.
Deputized. I'm going to do some citizen's arrests today.
I took a ton of photos in the museum, but they really don't do it justice. You will need to go visit it yourself to see what I mean. Still, I have to share this picture. Even with my new lawman status, I somehow ended up behind bars. This particular display focused on a certain Mayberry resident who would check himself into jail when he was just too darn intoxicated to go home. After the museum, it was back to Main Street to hit the Snappy Lunch for a quick bite. Yep, another one of Andy's old haunts. This place has been open for business since Andy was just a lad. Unfortunately, when we arrived, I noticed the hours on the door and realized that they were getting ready to close.
Still, the young man cooking up a storm at the grill turned to me and said, "Ah, don't worry about that. Come on in." And I was grateful for the invitation because I'd really wanted to try one of Snappy Lunch's famous pork chop sandwiches, and let me just say, it did not disappoint. You know, something else that didn't disappoint was the fantastic singing of longtime Mount Airy resident Troy Payne, who was sitting right behind us. 93 years young. Here's just a little snippet of Mr. Payne's vocal prowess.
I love her so. They ask me how I know, how I live this long. I told them I don't know. I guess they understand how lonely life can be. Life can start anew the day she took my hand.
End of the day, I think this sign that was actually in the men's restroom at the museum says it all. We appreciate you, Andy. And I appreciate all of the kind Mount Airy residents who made my day in Mayberry so memorable. Alright, let's close this video in front of Andy Griffith's boyhood home. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And why not consider subscribing to my channel? I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But as always, most importantly, thanks so much for watching.